Bonjour à tous. Alors,
good morning to all of you. So we are going to start, and you wait 15 seconds because we are going to start in 15 seconds because we have a slight technical problem.
Bon, ça doit être à peu près ça. Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, Elisabeth Laville. I'm founding of Utopie, and we prepare the organization of this forum concerning the programming because we are special for the sustainable development. We work a lot. The focus that we have is the problem of local economy, the contribution of the companies and the branding to the local economy, and the local dimension of strategies. When we ask people about the study made in 2013, when we ask the stakeholders what is the most important in the sustainable development and in the social responsibility, 38% of them say that it's a local. I am delighted to be the facilitator of this morning session because we are going to listen to three magnificent examples. So I'm going to introduce the subject that we wanted to tackle with this roundtable, and I'm going to present three tendencies that are important for the local branding. And we are going to have three examples. I don't know what it means. You have some slides. I do not know what it is. Well, okay. I do not know Lea Massari de Duca. And maybe there are other surprises in the presentation or not. I don't know. So I forgot what I was saying.
Oh, je te remercie infiniment.
She started a little bit too early, and she is asking who is Léa, this famous Léa that was on the slide. If you wanted to meet her, you have seen what she looks like. So what we wanted to say is, of course, we are going to say the small branding have a local marketing because they are local branding, but we are interested, and this is interesting, the big branding are also doing it. Here you see global retailers think local, and the reason why the brands think local and the contribution to the local development is the first topic expected by the companies, and it's shaking. The slides are shaking. I don't know why. The subject of local is also important for the consumers. This is a study of Kantar in 2017, comparing the local and the global branding in 40 countries. And they realize that the local branding represents 64.6% of the global consumption in those countries. It means that the consumers wanted to consume locally. And you see that the consumers wanted to have a local branding. So, and we see a market like the beer, for example, in the United States, the craft beer represents 25% of the market. And the problems for the other branding is how to maintain the market. And for all of them, it will be the subject. Of course, local, and we are working on that. The local is quite relevant for the planet. If you have a local exchanges, if you buy products that are made locally, they will not be transported, they will not have an environmental impact, and you will not have a hyper-intensive harvesting. with the pesticides. So it is meaningful for the planet, and it is meaningful for the local itself. Because last June I went to Vancouver, and they presented an interesting study. The cities think as a branding. The Vancouver city made a study about the Vancouver branding concerning the tourism, and everything linked to the focus on life quality and environment. And if you see Detroit in the United States, Detroit has the same policy, how to have a new branding for Detroit. And people, when they think about Detroit, they should not think about a polluted, destroyed city with a very high rate of unemployment. So this is important for the cities, but it is also important for the companies. I suggest three tendencies that will be shown in the discussion. First of all, you will have Gilbert Rochecouste. That is to say, it's the place taking, how I take places, selling places, places where you sell a hotel, a store, a shopping center, in order to have a community hub, a district hub. People who come there not only in order to buy something, but also to take a part in the local life with free activities. A few examples. I put Uniqlo in Toronto. Uniqlo, when they came to Toronto, they are doing a lot of things. So in order to support the local economy, in order to open a store, Uniqlo, as they did elsewhere, they started to go to the center of the city. They went to independent store, and they open corner, Uniqlo, so they support the local economy, and they attract the people. Then Lululemon, it's a Canadian company that is making yoga clothes, and they decided that the stores were kind of a hub for the people interested in yoga and related clothes. You have this store is open for artists, for teachers, for a series of free activities suggested to the clients. So you have a class of yoga open and free for the clients. So it is connected to the people interested in yoga and related activities. And then another example in France, in the Hauts-de-France, Decathlon with a Decathlon Village. Decathlon Village is a place, at the beginning it is around a store, but then you put together a lot of free and not free activities around the sport, how to practice a sport, and you have a lot of activities. You have the possibility to discover such or such a sport, and you can repair your bike. For example, a lot of things that will feel that you wanted to make more sport. So two films. This film is made by Apple in the Apple Store, and you see that it is linked to what I said.
Pour que ça se lance, ou pas, aussi. Avec le son, ça serait peut-être mieux si c'est possible, mais bon. Ouais, Today at Apple, ça s'appelle. Alors, avec le son, c'est évidemment plus cool. Hein.
I would like to have the sound.
Si on arrivait à avoir le son, on peut relancer le film, sinon c'est pas grave, on va...
So last year, Apple launched Today Apple, and this shows they organize in 140 or 150 stores in the world. Every day they organized free activities on some subject, educational activities. It could be activities in order to understand and to learn how to make a photo. Now we got the sound.
500, pas 150.
Dimensional take on the genius. New staffers specialized in music and photography called creative pros.
We'll be doing some quick figurative sketches.
The shadows can make it really pop.
So our whole concept was, how does the store become more like a town square where the best of Apple comes together, everybody's invited, and it becomes almost a community hub.
What we're going to do is just going to invite you up to share some poems.
When you do something for the first time, you have to be completely fearless.
Can anybody find the Big Dipper?
Whatever sound feels good to you, let that be your sound.
I'd love to be able to say, did you learn something? Were you inspired? Did we enrich your life? Did you connect with other people in the community that maybe you didn't know before?
Voilà, vous avez compris, c'est tout simple.
You have understood it is very simple. It's a community hub. You have heard the name in the video. So this is the first trend, and Gilbert will show it later on. Gilbert comes from Australia, and he's a pioneer of the placemaking, and he's well positioned in order to show this tendency. Second tendency, when the local becomes a business model, all of a sudden the will to have a stronger local impact will guide the development, the new launching, the decisions made in this growth strategy. A few examples that I like. Shinola in Detroit. Detroit is a destroyed, bankrupt industrial city linked to the car industry, but no jobs. Shinola was the first brand going to Detroit, saying, okay, we are going to go to that city to create jobs, industrial jobs, in order to see that the industry can be clean, it's not automatically bad. And the will of Shinola is to have a local impact in Detroit. They made a first manufacturing making clocks and watches, and now they say we are going to have other products in Detroit in order to increase the impact in Detroit. After the watch, we had bikes, and then writing, and then a hotel recently. So we see that the objective of the company is to create a lot of jobs in Detroit and to revamp the image of Detroit. Now we have another example in California, 15 restaurants, and the objective is to make it possible for everyone to have healthy food. And in order to do that, they say, okay, no problem. In Los Angeles, you have a rich poor, wealthy poor, and poor people. They have the same menu. So they are in the wealthy district. It costs $8 the menu and $5 in the poor district. So they adapt their marketing to the local conditions. It's the same menu, but the wealthy people can pay $8 and the poor people $5. So another example that I like on this tendency, apart Zingerman, presented by Paul, which is the other example that I know on this subject. It's Open Desk. Open Desk, they have office furniture, and how do? They sell the plans online. You buy the plan, and they sell the coordinates of a person next to you that can make this furniture. It's not stupid because it saves warehouse cost, storage cost, cost linked to the stores. So they sell the plans, and the furniture is made elsewhere, very closer to you. So this is a film on Shinola, if we have the time to show it.
Bon, il marche pas, c'est pas grave, je vous ai expliqué Shinola. Et la
And the third tendency that will be shown, it's Action Nobel and the Luxe Valentine, and they wanted to have a local branding in order to be closer to the people, to be close to the people where they live. And today we can say, okay, the marketing is only application, is only digital. Of course, we need application, and I'm going to give you the example of Nike. But we try to solve problems like food, health, mobility, and the waste. We have to be closer to the people, and we do not have to be somewhere far away. So the objective is to touch the people where they live, and it brings a new tendency. We have been working on that, brand urbanizer. So the traditional ad on a panel, we replace it by concrete actions in order to improve the quality of life in the cities, so that you will see what I mean. I'm going to show you a few examples, and you have two typical examples. The first one is Novo Nordisk, is a Danish leader of Scandinavia of health. First lab on diabetes and insulin. They have changing diabetes. It's a program closer to the patients, and for 5 or 6 years, they have. They say, if we wanted to solve the problem of diabetes, we have to change the way people eat and move, if they practice a sport or not. And if we wanted to do that, we have to be closer to the people where they live. And so this program is a pilot program. At the beginning, there was 8 cities in the world, Mexico City, for example, in order to see. It's a prevention before selling the insulin. How can we ask the people to change their diet and the way they move? And they do not work alone. They work with a lot of other actors. The other example I like, it's a Nike. And they have had a written strategy, a strict strategy for many years. It's a global branding, but they have to be local, closer to the people. Of course, if you live in a polluted city, it will not work. You can have an application saying to the people you have to move. If they can't, they can't. And you have to do the cycle tract and the message.
La possibilité de le faire de manière sans courir.
And Nike is doing that increasingly for many years. So you have the application, but also the coaching sessions. You see Paris come to train with us. Adidas has a similar program in Paris, and they bring people to the district, and you can run freely with a coach. And Portland, they go even further. They fund the bike cairn. And then in some cases, you have here this pop-up that remain 1 year using a space, an empty space between 2 houses in order to have a basket field, and everybody knew that Nike was supporting that. It's a way to be close to the people. And we will see that we have a lot of examples. I would like to see the film, and this film is related to the question of our sport. With the music, it would be more beautiful, of course.
C'est plus cher. C'est pas grave. Merci.
So, we found alternative chords hidden around, using the same creativity and a little paint. We painted common places and showed how to turn them into unexpected chords. sports site gained its own customized rules.
Cada degrau desse equivale a uma pontuação.
The project is now available online, so anyone can create their own courts. To help more kids realize sports come in many shapes and colors.
Bon, vous avez compris, ça
You have understood it shows that quite clearly. It's in line with the trend of the place-making and the grand urbanism. And it's, you see, you do not have an ad. You do not need the logo of a Coral, which is the local branding. And it works quite well. Just to say that we will study that. I think that there is a workshop this afternoon on this local branding. And without further doing, I'm going to give the floor to the three speakers, and each of them will illustrate one tendency. So we are going to start with Gilbert Rochecouste, Villageois.
Fantastic.
It's working?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great to be here in Paris. Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Gilbert. I'm the Managing Director of Village Well. We're based in Melbourne. We're a placemaking firm, but I was born in Mauritius. Who's been to Mauritius? No one. I've got 136 first cousins, so come and visit me in Mauritius. Placemaking is about creating meaningful and connected environments, and it's really about, I think, where cities are going as their new brand and new connection to authentic environments. But also, placemaking is about energy. So before I start my 10-minute talk, I want you to just stand up. So everybody stand up. Beautiful. Everybody stand up. I want to give you a gift from Mauritius, a little bit of energy. So we start the day. So what I want you to do, in Mauritius we have the Sega dance. So what I want you to do is move like this. Beautiful. All right. That's it. It's a beautiful dance in Mauritius.
Si les caméras pouvaient se retourner vers la salle, ça serait cool, parce que comme ça on éviterait le ridicule.
What I want you to do is repeat after me 5 times, and now I'm going to get my little drum to start going. Beautiful. So I'm going to do it once. You do it 5 times. Ready? I'll do it once. Chugga chugga chugga. Chew chew. Chugga chugga chugga. Chew chew chew. Ready? Let's go. Chugga chugga chugga. Chew chew. Keep going. Chugga chugga chugga. Keep going. Beautiful. Have a seat. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Now, cities are about energy, so I've been very lucky to work in Melbourne for 30 years. I used to be a general manager of the biggest shopping centre in the Southern Hemisphere, so I come from a corporate background, but I think for me it's about villaging, yeah, and how we create that sense of place and sense of brand for our cities. So we're very lucky. Melbourne has been one of the world's most livable cities 7 years in a row, but it was also one of the worst cities in the world, a donut city where the shopping centre killed the city centre. But it's really revitalised itself through people and place and culture, where the laneways of Melbourne have revitalised the city centre with 400 new pollinator businesses. So we're very fortunate that the 3 enablers of this story, and it is about story, cities now sell stories, they don't sell master plans. It's about the story of place and the spirit of place. So Melbourne has a very distinctive story of culture, multiculturalism, small business, localised products, and a sense of a night economy. But it's really created that by 3 enablers. One is the government being a facilitator, an enabler of place, creating the right policy settings of, activated streets, greening the city, taking all the cars out of the city. We have the largest tram network in the world. We're very lucky. We didn't take that out. And it's a very walkable and livable place. And also incentives for people to live in the city. So the city brand started to evolve through culture and place. And we had a very strong culture of citizen-led recovery, of artists, artists and stencil artists that really started to animate the laneways. So we've been very, very fortunate. If I can just grab the slideshow, fantastic, that I think as we come through this extraordinary transition time on the planet where people are looking for authenticity and meaning, yeah? The biggest crisis on the planet is the search for meaning and connection to place. So as businesses become more conscious in their ways of connecting to a new consumer, because what people now in Melbourne in particular, and I think around the world, they're wanting to buy authentic experiences. So that's a very creative and strategic yet challenge, especially for big corporates. So what we've found is placemaking is a new brand, and this is one shopping centre in Melbourne, which I called enlightened developers. They're regenerative businesses, yeah? Very important to understand. Businesses, they put back more than they take out. So these big developers will not create a shopping centre, but they'll create a precinct. They'll create a city centre. They'll create town squares, public parks, play areas, rooftop gardens. They'll work with Indigenous people, artists. So they have to really start to partnering. So really what they do is creating a place-led environment to creating a place brand. So what we call these developers in Australia are city makers and city animators. Very powerful, because 95% of all city making in the world will be built by private sector. 90% of all buildings pretty much will be built by the private sector. So we need to understand that the private sector needs a new model for place branding and place development. So we're very fortunate that these developers work on three principles. First, and the community as well. Now the other two players are the government, which facilitate and enable great environments for people to thrive in through activating the night economy, activating street life, buskers, street trading, allowing small businesses and incentives for small businesses to animate the community. And the third sector is the community, but they're called, what we call in Melbourne is citizen consumers, yeah? The consumer becomes a citizen first, not a consumer. It's a radical leap globally that we need to take. So they're understanding that they're voting with their feet, but they're voting with their conscience. So we have about 400 new pollinator businesses in our laneways, and our brand is based on surprise and delight. Where Vancouver is about green, Melbourne is very much about culture and people and activism. It's the only green city voting 60% green in the world. So we're very progressive, but also the challenge is with shopping centres is in the suburbs. Yep, Melbourne is also the livable city, but also the unlivable city in the suburbs. So what we do have is lots of pollinator businesses, like these social enterprises, maybe 100 social enterprises in the city that are pollinating new forms of connection, working with refugees, working with homeless people, and really we call this concept the third place, where these retailers and pollinator businesses are really encouraging community to use their buildings, and they're like similar to that you mentioned, the yoga, I've forgotten the Lululemon. So the big corporates are doing similar to what the small corporates are doing. We call it small c capitalism. Capitalism with a conscience. So we need to build a movement that really brings people together. And another colleague of us has got 3 or 4 shops in Melbourne called Lentil as Anything, and other pollinator businesses. They've employed 2,000 refugees and trained them up, helped their families. So these important what I call catalyst renewal type businesses come into a place in a city centre, and they start to catalyse social renewal. Very powerful. So they create a place brand, but they create a magnetic force. We call them place attractors, and it's about place we call it place connection and magnetism and place attachment. So it's the glue and the magnetism that these traders bring many people together. And other examples of our colleagues, Street, who have worked with 2,000 homeless people and helped them come back to... Homeless is a big issue globally. But importantly, what these traders do is, from a place branding point of view, is that they activate the commons, yeah? the future will be about the commons. I think Ghent in Belgium are doing some extraordinary things. And another area here we call Abbotsford Convent in the middle of the city, that 200 pollinator businesses have been activated. This is where the government allows public spaces, and this is a convent owned by the public, that are handed over to the public, controlled by the public, and new place branding processes are connected to the commons. Dare I say, I want to challenge, in a good way, to Apple. Apple is coming into our city and is taking over part of our town square. As much as it's a good thing or a bad thing, but more than 3/4 of the population don't want Apple to come into the town square. What would have been important for Apple to do is to consult authentically and in a transformative way, engage and partner with the public first, and then start building the place. So the big corporates need to learn, like Apple, and I think Apple's doing some amazing things through a place branding concept. They need to really engage deeply in a partnering approach and maybe experiment, give away some of their money to experiment in tactical urbanism. That's what's really the key, the missing link. Experiment, give away. So we call it the gifting economy in social responsibility. The commons, how do we activate the commons first and then bring the customers as citizen customers to our brand? And the importance of the night is very, I've got a few minutes left, Elizabeth. The importance of the night is very important in Melbourne as placemakers. So we are all placemakers, I just want to say that. So the night economies, now we have some of the biggest night markets in the world. When we created these 25 years ago, the night market, we had no night economies. So this has birthed 500 new businesses, small businesses. So important to have markets and pollinator markets back into our city centres that can give cheap rent, easily accessible and affordable. So these new businesses can experiment and add the edge conditions to the city. Again, this adds to our brand in Melbourne. So Melbourne is activated every night with events and music and culture, and these night markets really are about a gifting of what we call the power of free. If you're going to create a place brand in a city, you must nail the concept of the power of free. So our citizens don't always have to have a commercial interaction, Very important around play, culture, sittability, parks, gardens, our beautiful libraries that become placemakers. All of these need to work in a collective ecosystem around a partnership approach. And I think what we're seeing in the future now is, if we're going to take that place branding narrative, we need organisations and corporates that have a place-led culture, a culture that's driven by place, not commerce, not the bottom line, but purpose, pleasure and profit. Strong purpose, activate and animate our cities, our consumers, bring them on board around knowledge, connection, climate change, culture, food, and then the profit will come. So I think what we're starting to see with these the next evolution of these pollinator businesses, like my good friend Paul in Zinnemann's doing amazing things to really animate our town centres and city centres first, our streets, our laneways, make them safe, vibrant, connected, cultural, beautiful, animated and enchanting. Let's bring enchantment back, to our cities, the magic of place. Because I think the original, we're very lucky in Australia, our original placemakers have been around for 80,000 years, Our Indigenous communities, they're the original placemakers. So they understand the connection to place, to land, to culture, to food, to nature. So bringing what I call the spirit of place back to our cities around authenticity is the key, Because I started my talk saying we have a crisis of meaning, and big corporates will understand that if we start to build a much more integrated approach to branding that gives back more than they take out, out. So we have to move from that extractive model to one that nourishes life. These will be the businesses and the corporates that will flourish in the future, because the tipping points of climate change and economic corrections and food security are coming very quickly. So we need great public environments, public spaces, and we're very lucky in Melbourne because we have what we call grit. You know, a little bit of dirt is okay, and culture and art and authenticity and connection to place. So really for us, it's about, you know, how do we teach? And I just want to give you a little plug here that we're having a little placemaking masterclass on Monday, that we need to teach these big corporates how to become good place leaders, place managers, place curators, how to create place activation strategies, how to take place engagement, authentic engagement and governance, integrated governance models, as well as place what I call deep place engagement of our communities. How do we partner? So we'll be doing that if everyone's interested on Monday. But I just want to say, placemaking is the new brand. It is the new black. We have to be very courageous that we start to rethink the model. What we need to sell is a story. Yeah? Think of yourself as storytellers. And that's what we need now. People are more excited about stories than around products and services. We need to sell a good story that gets their head, heart and hand connected. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Gilbert. Ceci était...
Thank you very much, Gilbert. In order to show the first tendency, the place making, now we are going to have the second with Paul. Thank you very much to Mike and Schumann that just entered the room. You remember the second tendency is the economic model locally and the will to have a local impact that will drive the strategy of the company. And Zimmerman is going to talk about, we are going to talk about Zimmerman.
Yeah, go back to the beginning there. Can you go back one more? Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How y'all doing? All right. Okay, so my name is Paul Saginaw, and I've come here from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and to talk to you about the story of our business and our approach to business.
Paul, I think you need to hold the mic.
And I'm going to hold the mic a lot closer so that you can hear me. So back in the late 1970s, I met my a friend who was my future partner, Ari Weinsweig. And we were both working in a restaurant together. And I had grown up in Detroit, and my partner had grown up in Chicago. And in the neighborhoods where we grew up, there were these delicatessens where you could get a great corned beef sandwich. And we were living in this little college town, and you couldn't find anything like that. And we thought, wow, Ann Arbor could use a really good delicatessen. And so in March of 1982, we found a building where we decided we could open up this business we had been talking about. And really what we wanted was we wanted to have a really, really great sandwich in an organization with a lot of heart and soul. And we had a different approach to business. And we opened in this little tiny corner store that had been built in 1902, and it was on the edge of a residential neighborhood. And it was a corner grocery store, and that's what we wanted to be. We wanted to be a neighborhood store where we would know the people's names in the neighborhood, and they would come in, and if they didn't have money that day, we would let them come back later and pay us, and we just wanted to be part of the fabric of the community. And we wanted to gather the finest foods from around the world and have this specialty store, and then smash down in the middle of it, we wanted to have this very busy bustling sandwich shop. And we wanted to serve these sandwiches that were so big that you would take 2 hands to get it up to your mouth, and when you finally bit into it, the dressing was going to roll down your forearms. And that was very, very clear in our minds before we ever made our first sandwich. And we also said that we wanted to be unique. And for us, by definition, that meant there was only one of you. So that if we were ever going to grow and expand, we were never going to do it by replication. It wasn't a philosophy or an ideology. It just, for us, it was a lifestyle decision. And we didn't want to be the biggest. We wanted to be the best. We wanted the name Zingerman's to take on a secondary meaning, so that if you went somewhere and you had their sandwich, you might say, that was a really good sandwich, but it wasn't a Zingerman sandwich. That was what we were really aiming for. And we also said that we wanted an organization where decisions were not going to be made based on who had the most authority, but rather who had a good idea, who had a solution to an issue we were dealing with, who had information and data that was relevant to the problems at hand. We wanted to push decision-making as deeply and as widely into the organization and invite everybody to come in and help make the decisions that were going to run the business. And we also said that we were going to gather this food and produce this food and deliver it to customers with an extremely high level of customer service. This was 1982, and nobody talked about customer service. Customer service was merely transactional, and it was things that happened after the sale. The shoes were the wrong size. The dress was the wrong color. But we wanted to give a level of service that was going to be, we wanted people to understand that we existed to be of service. And that included giving great service to our employees, to our customers, and to our community. We did not buy into traditional economic theory that the business of business is business. We felt that you earn your right to do business in a community by being a good corporate neighbor. You choose a site responsibly. You build responsibly. You hire responsibly. You produce a product or a service responsibly, and you generate a profit responsibly, and you share it with the people who helped you within your organization and with the community that that profit came from. And so we said that giving back to the community was not something we were going to do once we became successful. It was something that we were going to build into our business plan. Rent, utilities, insurance, giving back to the community. That was something we were going to do from the day we opened. And so we opened in March of 1982, and this is what we look like today. That was the corner. On the left was the corner store we started with. Then we bought the house next door. And then in back of us, there was a house that had a fire. We didn't start it. And we had an addition. Every time we needed to expand, there was always the opportunity from developers who wanted us to move out to, a mall or outside of town, but we were very dedicated to the community. We wanted to continue to be part of the fabric of our neighborhood. And so as expensive as it is to build in a tight space and as expensive as it is because these are historic structures and we had to pay attention to all of that, we maintained our commitment. And so that's what it looks like on the inside of our store. And then things went really, really well for the first about 10 years. And then about 10 years into it, I noticed things that were causing me concern in the workplace. And now we had a formal leadership team, and there was a lot of disagreement. Where's our great opportunities coming from? How do we take advantage of them? Where are the threats to our market coming from, and how do we mitigate those threats? There was a lot of risk avoidance. It's, hey, we're Zingerman's, we're cool, let's not do anything to rock the boat. And this really scared me. I felt like we were becoming complacent. And also, we wanted to provide more benefits for the people that work for us. We wanted them to be able to live in the community, have families, have a good life. We wanted to be able to provide professional and financial growth for the people that work for us, and that really required that we grow the organization. But how are we going to do that and stay true to our initial vision of only having one Zingerman's Delicatessen? And so my partner and I engaged in a dialogue, a conversation, sometimes yelling at each other, that took about a year. And at the end, we came out with a long-range vision. It was 1994, and we called it was a 15-year vision. And we said that we are going to open 10 to 12 food businesses that would all carry the Zingerman brand. They would all be different. And we wouldn't do anything unless an employee had come forward who was entrepreneurial, was passionate about a product or a service, was going to operate according to our guiding principles. Then we would partner with that individual, we would finance that, and we would create a community of businesses where we were customers and suppliers of each other. We wanted to provide the opportunity for ownership in the brand to the people that work for us. So in 1992, we opened Zingerman's Bakehouse, a production bakery. We make traditional stone hearth oven breads and pastries. And then where we opened the bakehouse, the bakery was in a small industrial park about 2.5 miles from the Delicatessen, and there were a lot of other businesses out in the park, and so we thought we would just open a little retail shop and sell our products to the people in the park too. And so we have that there. We also started making custom cakes and wedding cakes, and that was another business. And then we opened a baking school. We found that people had a real hunger for learning how to prepare foods in the traditional ways. And so we have a school that teaches baking to the general public. And then we had a lot of requests from people who wanted to know how to do what we were doing, and they wanted to open singular businesses. And so we opened a training company called Zing Train in 1994, and we have a training center, and people come from all over the country for seminars. And then we opened Zingerman's Mail Order. We live in a college town where the University of Michigan is. It has the largest alumni association in the world, and they spend several years with us, and then when they leave, they still want our products. So that caused us to open a mail order company. This is our warehouse, our call center. And then we opened Zingerman's Creamery. We make several cow milk cheeses and goat milk cheeses, and also gelato. And then we opened Zingerman's Roadhouse, which is a full-service restaurant that features regional, traditional American food. With an outdoor patio, and we have a large barbecue pit where we roast whole hogs on every day. And then we started roasting our own coffee. So we would, and we have a little cafe with it, but we bring in green coffee beans from all the coffee growing regions of the world, and re-roast them, and we wholesale those. Then we started, there was a young man working in the pastry kitchen who had a fascination with chocolate and sugar, and he started making these candy bars, and he spun that out into Zingerman's Candy Manufactory, where we, and that's him right there, Charlie Frank, where we make our own candy bars now. And then we bought a 26-acre farm that had a pre-Civil War barn on it. That's old for us in our country, but here that's not very old. But we dismantled that barn piece by piece, and then refurbished it, put it up on a new foundation, and we refurbished the 1830s farmhouse, and that's a big event space. And then our newest business is Miss Kim. It's a Korean restaurant that opened across the street from the delicatessen. That's the dining room. And so, and then our service network. So what I realized over time was really what we were was a business incubator. But I think that we differed from traditional business incubators in a few important ways. We measure success differently. Incubators measure success by an idea getting funded and going off, and we measure success by being qualified by the customer, turning that idea into revenue. Also, we get to share a brand, and then we also have a shared services group called Zingerman Service Network, and so we are providing the administrative and the technical expertise that every startup needs but cannot really afford. So in our system, when you come forward and you want to start a business, you get all of the resources that we have at the service network that are helping you during that planning phase, which could be 6 months to 24 months to 36 months, and you're not paying for that. The ongoing mature businesses have all agreed that they will subsidize that in the interest of having another business come online that would be either a supplier to them or a customer of theirs, and would help raise the image of the brand. And so we have the back office is HR, HR department, technology department, payroll, benefits administration, marketing and graphics, creative services, customer service, and financial oversight. These are all services that are shared and provided for. And so the impact of all this is that we now have 12 businesses. There's 2 founding partners. There's now 17 managing partners. All of those folks started as entry-level frontline employees, and now they are owners in that brand. It's not phantom stock. It's not stock appreciation rights. They are my peers, my partners, and we provided ownership opportunity, and they took advantage of it. We have 3 staff partners. When all the partners meet every 2 weeks and they make the decisions that impact the businesses, and we make all those decisions by consensus, we don't vote on anything. We also, through a system of nominations and choosing, we have 3 frontline employees that sit on the partners group and have the full decision-making authority that a partner would have. So that when we're making decisions, we always want to have the staff's perspective represented in those decisions, because we want to know what the impact of our decisions are on everyone in the organization. We now have about 750 employees, and this year we are projected to do $68 million in sales. And understand that we're in a small college town of a population of about 150,000. And I think that we have been, what we wanted to do over the years, we've had dozens and dozens of opportunities. People come and they want to take the Zingerman brand and they want to open it up in every college town across the United States. And that can be very tempting and very seductive. They come and they put a big pile of money in front of you on the table, but it just wasn't what we wanted. We wanted to be part of the community. We believed that we were stewards within our city, and that we wanted it so that our city was going to be better off because we had existed, and it was, you know, how we were going to leave that town better than we found it. And so we always resisted those opportunities to sell out the brand. And what we wanted to do was to be able to provide those professional and financial opportunities to the people that work for us, and try to spread ownership as far as we could within the organization. We now have a hybrid form of employee ownership, where employees that have been there for 2 years can own shares in the organization. And so the way that we set it up, all of those businesses are separate legal entities, and they don't own each other. My partner Ari and I are partners with all of them, but they're all separate businesses. We behave as one. The community of businesses is not a legal entity, it's a spiritual entity that you opt into. And we made it very, very difficult to ever sell the organization because we wanted to be there for the next several hundred years. We built in a transition plan by always bringing in new partners, so that as the old ones like me can start to transition out, there's always new partners coming in. I believe we've been successful because we made a decision to promote the human potential around us and not discard it, to believe that everyone is of value and everyone has something to contribute to the organization. It's an honor to be here. It gives me a lot of hope that there are folks like you that are interested in growing businesses in certain ways, to understand that a business doesn't exist solely for the benefit of its shareholders, but it exists for the benefit of everyone involved, the people that work there, the people that shop there, and the community that it does business in. And we make our lives become what we choose to focus on. And if we only focus on all the terrible things that are out there and the violence and the inequity in our world, then it kind of debilitates us from taking action. But when you come and you think about there are businesses and there are people out there that are doing good things, and you start to focus on that, then none of us are waiting for some great grand utopian to exist. Utopia is in the presence. It's a series of all the steps that we take every single day. And so I applaud all of you for your interest in the idea of localism and your interest in the idea that businesses really should be a tool for positive social change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
With that, any transition, I'll hand over to Annie to illustrate the third trend, which is that of local marketing and brand urbanism, with the example of Deluxe and Action Nobel that I started to illustrate a little earlier. Good morning, everybody. So Action Nobel is a company producing and marketing paint and industrial flooring, and it's not a company which makes paint only for buildings. And the B2C with Deluxe and Valentine, it also produces plain boat paint, big paint for major architecture. We are passionate by paint, expert in this particular area for the manufacturing, and since 1992, in 2010 2010, we started the Let's Color program to get closer to our communities and to carry our colors high, because colors are something very important. And I'll let you discover that through a first film telling you the story of our Let's Color program. So it's not by chance that I came to sit next to somebody with a very colorful jacket, because for us, color is truly our passion. In AkzoNobel, we believe that color has an impact and inspires people, humor, mindset, and mood. An impact on populations. That's why we don't only produce paint to sell them, but also to change people's living space and to give this touch of happiness, fun among the communities, and to make our lives more livable and inspiring. Why? Because for us, paint has truly a magical power. I mean, power makes people happy, it's optimistic, and for us, paint is not just a matter. I mean, it brings lots of things extra and contributes to the well-being of the population. As you noticed from this film, I mean, we created more than 2,000 projects throughout the world. We gathered a lot of volunteers also, because we worked not only with our communities, but also with our collaborators that we turn into color ambassadors. This Let's Color program was launched in 2010. Amongst the collaborators, we encourage them to carry the community project, and then we went to the different countries as an international group, but also in France. I mean, we took everybody on board, all our collaborators, to carry these different projects. The Let's Color program for us is a call to action to activate our mission, because the mission of our company is to bring colors to people's lives. So we rely on three things in this program. Our brand first. I mean, the Deluxe Valentine brand, because it's a consumer brand that you will find in your DIY surface, but we also work with our other brands like Sequence, a paint dedicated to the professional market, depending on the communities we're talking to carry those color projects. I mean, we adjust the brand, we use the specific brand, we work with our collaborators and also with the communities. So Let's Color is a nice story for us, which started in 2010. As I said, I mean, the objective was to regenerate, to re-energize, and to bring life into people's life and communities. It's a personal story because, and it's during this program, I mean, we meet wonderful people, wonderful communities, which sometimes live in a sad environment, not very joyful, and obviously we want to add color and bring color to their lives. It's also a challenge because we've got to have ambassadors with us. It's always a volunteer approach, and it's not always simple to ask our collaborators to spend their holiday days or to come and work on Saturdays on these big projects, but they're always there, and we take on board a lot of these people. For us, they are co-creation adventures because it helps us to make the difference from other brands. I mean, as far as the connection is concerned, it's a way for us to connect with the populations with our neighboring communities and to obviously have our name mentioned, but also in a very discreet way, even if our brands convey this relationship with big projects. The first project we started here in France was in Aulnay-sous-Bois. You can see the difference between the building that was very dull, very gray, and then we came with our collaborators to paint it up, and you can see the difference of what this color brings, which is quite magic. I mean, we work for a company, and we're very fortunate to work for a company with a magic product. You can see other pictures here on regeneration projects that was also in Aulnay-sous-Bois, parking lots. Similar projects in Marseille, Lyon, and Paris also for big building fronts. I mean, these colors which make areas more dynamic, happier looking. On this project here, we worked with a city where our major production site has its headquarters. We worked with the city and a high school, which was in a sad environment, and we came to bring color to it. So 120 meters of wall painting here, and we had 85 collaborators working, which was quite a grand occasion. We contribute also color-wise. We bring the colors to cities where we live. This was a primary school. In 2012, we had 2 major wall paintings done in an area which has to be rejuvenated. We work with artists here on this particular wall fresco. And this project was quite specific because the purpose of the work we did with the Montataire city authorities was to create a team of young unemployed people looking for a job, of course, who didn't have any diplomas, and the objective was to bring these young people to be trained 1 week in our training center, where we train our painters to be trained to our products, to apply our products. They got trained and they worked with painting artists to prepare this wonderful work. And it's together with our team and these young people who were trained to apply the paint that we did these 2 wonderful wall fresco. And that was truly something that lasts. I mean, it dates back 2012, and nothing has been destroyed or vandalized. Smaller projects for the libraries, schools, handicapped children institute. We work a lot also on education or in educational environments, schools and so forth. Our last program was last year. AkzoNobel had signed a partnership with Masterpiece. And as part of that, I mean, we painted connection wall. I mean, the purpose of this program with Masterpiece was to create throughout the world 100 million connections. Why? Because we wanted to work together with the communities, get closer to these communities, bring colors to their lives. And I invite you to have a look at the second film, which will give you the story of this Masterpiece program.
On essaye de faire tomber les barrières et à travers des couleurs faire une connexion entre les gens et de tout le monde.
With the colors, we're trying to knock down barriers and to create connection between people. We needed a lot of colors in gray surroundings, and the dove is really a very good choice given the period we're going through. Our walls are a bridge together people around. I mean, it's one of the value of Yann to create links between different services and different people. I think that colors brings life back into cities, makes it more shiny, more jolly. It's a small extra that other cities don't have. And this year, we signed a new partnership with SOS Children's Village. So last year, we're going to start. We have started in other countries in the world, and in Belgium for one, and we will start that project in France next year. So I'll let you use color in your own home, because color is something that is a wonderful product that makes life beautiful, that is a source of inspiration, and we all need it. Thank you very much, Annie.
Nous avons à peu près 20 minutes.
So we have 20 minutes in order to have questions, comments. If you wanted to ask Gilbert, could you say it beforehand? Normally they have a headphone, but they have to know that the question is asked from them.
Alors, elle doit être charmante à la maison, cette fille.
Un micro qui va peut-être venir jusqu'à vous, je ne sais pas. Oui, voilà. Comment voilà.
Oui, enfin, elle parle pour nous.
Formidable élan collaboratif. Merci infiniment.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. My question is for Paul. Congratulations for your work. It's quite impressive. I remember the film of the it's a Western. They come to a village, Mayfield. The hotel is called Mayfield. All the products are called Mayfield. And I wonder whether this aspect of the entrepreneur that invests a lot for the community, is it a cultural specificity for the United States? And can it be repeated in Europe, where the feeling of community is different? In the small cities in the United States, you have this feeling. We are linked around a parish. We have to give to the community. Do you believe that we can copy that in Europe? You have been traveling in Europe.
I guess I don't quite understand. Are you asking, will the culture of being tied to the community translate well in other countries?
Yes, the question is whether this is a specificity of American culture, or whether you think it's transposable. I mean, it can be harnessed pretty much anywhere in the world, and especially in Europe. And maybe, I'm sure Gilbert will have a view on that too, and Annie probablement aussi.
I guess I believe that people aren't really that different, and that if they're shown a model that works, that they can connect the dots and want to be part of that. I think that I don't think that human nature is specific to different countries. I think we all want to be recognized and appreciated for the work we do, and I think that we want to be want to be of use and relevant in the world, and I think that when given the opportunity and shown how to contribute at those levels, that people will want to do that. I hope that's true. Otherwise, we're kind of doomed as a civilization.
Après, il y a peut-être un élément de réponse qui est aussi la taille de la.
The size of the community is important. If I think about what we see with Singaborn in France, we can see that in the region, at the level of the region, in the Hauts-de-France, not all the regions, but then you have the Made in France community. When you look at what we can do, we do it in France, but I believe that the community can be big or small according to the company.
Perspective on this as well, whether that sense of connection and especially the will to have a positive impact on the community is something that's very cultural and specific maybe to the US or to the Anglo-Saxon world, or is it what you see from placemaking? Does it happen pretty much anywhere in the world?
Yeah, I think placemaking has become a global phenomenon because it's so primal. It's about people searching for connection and for meaning and for something bigger than themselves. That's a global phenomenon now. Everyone's that's the crisis. I think what we need to learn is that it needs to be replicated. Yeah, good things anywhere globally can be replicated, and I think we found that with that project. One of my case studies, Lentil is Anything, where now that's going to Portugal from Melbourne because someone saw that concept, and it will be hopefully going to France soon, where the concept is that you pay anything you want. There's no cash register, which is the tax man doesn't like that anywhere in the planet. So they've already been taken to court. But it's a great concept where there's a little box and you just put whatever money you want in that box. But there's always enough money for everybody, and everybody gets. So there's a great concept that can be replicated. But really, it's about building community and building capacity. So anything that can create that regenerative approach can be replicated. And I think it's a global movement. And it's coming back to the old. The old is new again.
And do you see it as a global movement in businesses too? Because I think the question is twofold. One is the expectations of communities, the will for the need for connection and stuff, and the other one is the ability and the capacity from business to say, okay, we're going to integrate that into our strategy.
I think so, because I think consumption is our biggest story on the planet, and I think it's coming to a different close. And what Dulux is doing and Zingerman's, I think what we're finding is that people want to search for that connection to place. And I think what we're starting to see is developers, the smart developers, are starting to say we have to put something back and gift the community, which, something beyond what they're going to purchase from us. So that's working for them. And even one of our clients have said if they make beautiful places and they create beautiful piazzas and give it back to the people, will stay 25% longer. If they stay 25% longer, they're going to buy another coffee, or they're not going to buy another coffee. It doesn't matter, but they're staying longer because they feel safe. It's beautiful. So there's a business strategy there. Paul's got a magnetic connection to his customers. People want to hang out, hopefully, and so I think that's where the smart businesses are going.
Okay. Annie, vous avez sûrement une perspective là-dessus aussi, parce que finalement...
I Annie, you have some ideas about it because this program has been extended to many cultures. It started in the favela in Brazil, and you could say it works well because they just love the color, they love the pleasure, they love life. It's different. No, it works everywhere. It works everywhere. It works in Brazil. It works in the Asian countries because they just enjoy this type of a project. But it is up to us to extend this project. We talk about the emotion, the heart, and it is important. We know that the people today need to feel well at home, so we try to do that with the colors. We work with specific colors. But that was in line with the evolution of the product. Each year we have the color of the year, and these research are being made around the color, around the mind. This year, a few weeks ago, we talk about the color of the year. It's the honey. Amber honey, because we believe we have something in the Netherlands, and they put forward some research work on the development, the state of mind, and we were a little bit optimistic today, and therefore we have chosen this energical color like honey, amber, and people can create what they need in their home. So we have been doing that since 2004. We have had the research work made. Is it people are surprised about that in France? Because we have a different culture than the other countries. So we are lucky because we belong to an international group, so we all have the same mission, the same vision, and we wanted to be the ambassadors of these events. And now coming back to the community project, it is true that in the developing countries we have more things to do, but in Picardy we have a nice project. We work with the schools where we have our production site. We work also in Paris, and we find a new project everywhere, and I believe that the feeling is the same. Another question? Comment?
Ah, ouais. C'est que des gens qui sont dans le noir et au fond, c'est normal? On peut faire le noir dans la salle si ça vous aide à poser des questions.
Je vais venir dans la lumière, comme ça on peut.
C'est mieux.
Question is, you have 12 projects, 12 companies. What will be the next one?
So we, the owners, we don't decide what businesses we're going to open. All of the growth is directed by the people that work for us, who are coming forward and saying, this is something that I am passionate about and I would like to do, and I would like to do within the Zingerman's community of businesses. So we have a overriding organizational vision, but it's a very, very large umbrella. So if you're coming forward wanting to do something, it would have to fit within that. But you know, for the most part, it's food related. We're looking. You want to be a market leader in terms of quality, and you're want to partner with us, and really that's what it is. And we have a very clear, documented process for someone becoming a partner. It's transparent and it's open to anyone in the organization. It's not a group of people that anoint you. You come forward and declare this is something that you want to do, and we say, okay, here are the steps for going there. So there are several people that are in the pipeline now working on the path to partnership. We're working with a young man who is a master brewer and would like to do a brew pub, and also a lot of fermented products. We're looking at that right now. I hope that answers your question. Thank you
very much. Maybe I have one last question also for you guys, for the three of you, which would be, and this is to our workshop that will take place in the early afternoon, about the key factors of success and potential barriers to this approach. So les facteurs clés de succès et les barrières. From your experience, guys, where would you focus attention, both in terms of key factors of success and barriers or potential problems to overcome? Gilbert, you mentioned obviously the involvement of local populations in the project, so that's potentially one key factor of success, but I'm sure you mentioned the involvement of employees, so maybe one key factor of success and one barrier for each of you. I don't know, Gilbert, you want to start?
That's me. I think what you mentioned is to go deep into a place and engage in place. So really understand the community and its citizens, and really become partners in their journeys. And I think we have a statement in Australia that we need to get the locals to love the place first. Yeah, get the locals to love the place first. So really, it's really co-designing, co-creation, and co-partnering with the community, not the customers, but the community. And I think one of the key challenges is that we tend to become transactional and not transformational. So what I mean by that, we need to connect the head, heart, and hands. We need to lead with a place-making culture in businesses. So that would be my two points.
I think a necessary ingredient for success in any undertaking is to have a very, very clear, documented vision. And in our organization, for us, vision is a definition of success. So if everything is going to go the way you want it to go, at some point in the future, very, very specifically, what does that look like? It's a narrative, and it's written in the future perfect, as if it's already happened, and then that vision is written, and it's widely shared and communicated to everybody within your organization, to your customers, and to your whole community, so everybody understands what it is that you're going to try to accomplish, and why it's a very good thing for everybody and what their role can be in it. And I think the barrier is not having a vision, but having a strategy without understanding. So the vision is the what you're going to do and why you want to do it. The strategy is how it's going to get done, and that comes later. Often people create strategies in the vacuum of not having a vision, and then there's a lot of disagreement among people, and they think they're disagreeing about the strategy, but really they're disagreeing about where they want to go, what success looks like. I think it's very important to upfront define what success looks like.
Merci beaucoup. Annie, peut-être une conclusion sur la base de...
A conclusion on the basis of the project that you've carried out for Action Nobel, the key factor of a success and the challenge to overcome. I'm going to talk on my behalf and not on behalf of my company. I believe that the larger companies as well as the small companies have a role of responsibility, and they have to maintain to keep this social responsibility. They have to be aware of that. I am lucky because I work in a company that has a nice project, and I believe that it is important for the company to work in that direction and try to be connected to the people around. And I believe that in so doing, they could create a demand, and the brand is well known. It's a way of participating in the environment, to be integrated in the environment, and to have your brand known. So I believe that the companies could continue. I remember the Business Review article in the case of Lux. Since 2009, the project has been launched, and the market of the colors went into bankruptcy. I saw the figures. And in the 10 countries mentioned by the article, where they launched this project, the sales and the market share increased in the years that follow. So it's not the main reason, but it is very fruitful. Of course, we also use this project in order to increase our reputation. I think that it is time.
Ce auquel je participe. Donc, il est 10h.
So it is 10, half past 10. So this is the end of this round table. Thank you very much for your participation, and thank you to the members of the panel.